Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Football Heaven 24/7. I'm your host, Jamie Carter. Going to launch straight into it. Obviously, starting with Premier League like we normally do every week. But we're going to go in. There was some two massive games on this weekend. One's already been played on the Saturday, yesterday at 12:30 kickoff. It was the Manchester derby between Manchester United and Manchester City. Absolutely crazy game. Manchester City dominated possession in a lot of ways. Manchester United do had a good first half. In the second half, they came alive though, and they went 1-0 down on the 60th minute through Jack Grealish. But then the two goals in a 4-minute spell helped them to turn the game around. One goal by Fernandes and one by Rashford. Um, it only put Manchester United 1 point behind Manchester City in third. Well, now, as of today, Newcastle have just beaten Fulham 1-0. So that makes Newcastle go back up into third and Manchester United drop down to fourth. But Manchester United, they're looking like they've got a good chance of challenging for the title this season. Arsenal still have that massive gap over Manchester City after Manchester City obviously losing against Manchester United. And Arsenal play the London derby today, and they're going to be playing away at Tottenham. Now, since Tottenham have moved into their new stadium, they haven't lost at home to Arsenal. So the last three meetings, they've beaten Arsenal in every single meeting. But this is a different Arsenal team. This is an Arsenal team that many people have not seen for nearly 20 years, about 20 years nearly. They're looking like a team that could go on and win a title. So today's going to be a massive test for Arsenal. I personally think Arsenal will rise to the test. I'm predicting Arsenal to win 3-1 at Tottenham. Yeah, basically make it quite easy. I think they'll go 2 goals up in the first half, even. That's how confident I am. So that's what I'm going with. I think Kane will get his customary goal that he normally gets in the North London derby. But that's my prediction for today's game, which is yet to be played. That's going to be played in about half an hour from now. Today, as I'm doing this video, it's about 4 o'clock, just after 4 on a Sunday afternoon, on Sunday the 15th of January. So I'm going to go through the other results. There was a few shifts in places down near the relegation area. My team, Nottingham Forest, finally moved 5 points clear of relegation. And they had gone outside of the relegation zone after beating Southampton in the last away game. And so now Forest are 5 points clear of the relegation zone, which makes me extremely happy. All my local mates who support West Ham, they've not had it so good. They lost 1-0 yesterday to Wolves. Wolves actually had another goal disallowed as well. A goal from Daniel Podence on the 49th minute, or 48th minute even, allowed Wolves to a 1-0 victory, which was much needed for Wolves. That took Wolves out of the relegation zone, dropped West Ham into the relegation zone. Bournemouth are also down that end of the table. They lost in the evening kickoff on Saturday away at Brentford. Brentford won 2-0. Penalty from Ivan Toney and a goal from Jensen gave them the win to put Brentford up into 8th position in the table. And Ivan Toney, keeping Ivan Toney, well, I was going to say in touching distance of the Kane and Haaland. He's more in touching distance of Kane, who's got 15 goals. Tony's got 13, but Haaland's way out there ahead with 21 goals. And he scored those 21 goals in 17 matches, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's not something that's regularly been seen in the Premier League. In fact, he is the quickest striker to get to that ever in Premier League history. So in 17 games. So looking at the other results, there was other games obviously going on right near the foot of the table. That's where it's really sort of spicing up a bit, to be honest. Everton were playing Southampton. Everton desperately needed a win to get out of the relegation zone, but unfortunately they stayed down. In fact, they dropped to further place down the table. They were 1-0 up in the game through Onana, but then James Ward-Prowse came back like he has done in previous seasons and rescued Southampton, one with a normal goal and one with one of his customary free kicks again. When I saw him taking his free kick on the TV, I thought, flipping it, what's Pickford doing? Pickford was stood right over on his left-hand side, and you could see that Ward-Prowse was going to curl an absolute perler into the left-hand corner, well, into his right-hand corner. But for some reason, he was stood way out on the left, so I was just thinking, it was absolutely insane, really. But yeah, Southampton, they came back from 1-0 down. They won 2-1. They needed that. Southampton are still bottom of the table, but Those three teams in the bottom places, they're all on 15 points, only separated obviously by goal difference. Just outside the relegation zone, you've got Bournemouth just above the relegation zone with 16 points, and then you've got Wolves, who obviously won to get them out of there with 17 points, and then Leicester City with 17 points, who obviously my team Forest beat 2-0. Forest in that game, there was two good chances for Harvey Barnes, which he should have taken, but he muffed both of them up. And two great breakaway goals from Brennan Johnson, beautifully played through both times by Morgan Gibbs White, who's turned into a quality player. I mean, Forest bought him for 25 million, but it's looking like a snitch the way he's playing at the moment. So fantastic result for Forest. As I say, they're in 13th now. Looking at the rest of the results from the day, Brighton absolutely smashed Liverpool. Liverpool are on free fall at the moment, and currently they're lying in ninth position in the table, even after today's games on Sunday. They're having an absolute nightmare of a season. They've already lost 7 games this season. 6 games this season, which is crazy. At this stage, we're not even halfway through well, some of the teams are halfway through the season, but it's absolutely insane. 2 goals from Solly March, one from Welbeck. That gave Brighton a 3-0 win. That keeps Brighton up in the top. They're in 7th now, Brighton, because of that. Other teams, like I say, Fulham lost 1-0 today, but they're lying in 6th. They're having an absolutely amazing season. Out of all the promoted teams, they're having the best season so far. I could see Fulham actually staying up that area, to be honest. I mean, you got to do a big shout out to the likes of Brighton, Fulham, and Brentford this season, because they're absolutely smashing it in the Premier League. No one expected those 3 teams to be in the top half of the table, apart from some of their fans probably. So, yeah, a brilliant season for those guys so far. Looking at other things that happened at the weekend in the Premier League, there's one more game that I've not touched on. That was on the Friday night game. Aston Villa was playing Leeds United. Aston Villa needed to win to get further away from the relegation zone. I would say now Aston Villa is safe. They're now 10 points clear of the relegation zone with a 2-1 win at home to Leeds. Goals from Bailey and Buendia gave them a 2-0 lead. Bamford on the way back from injury, he got a goal back for Leeds, but it wasn't enough. And Leeds, as I say, they're still struggling because of the goal difference. They're only 2 points from away from the relegation zone, but they're the highest out of the teams, resting on 17 points because of their goal difference. So there we go. So that's what's going on at the moment. Arsenal still top. Arsenal could actually go 8 points clear today if they win at Spurs, which would be absolutely insane, because if they go 8 points clear, I just can't see anyone stopping them. I don't think they're going to lose 3 games on the bounce. I just can't see it happening. I think Pep he's playing his mind games a little bit, but I think he can see that the title's probably going to be Arsenal's this season, even though there's still another 19 games to go for most of the teams. So anyway, jump into the Championship. Lots of stuff going on there as well. Burnley and Sheffield United started the day at the top. They're the sort of runaway leaders at the moment. They're currently, Sheffield United are 11 points clear, and I think it's even further for Burnley. Burnley are something like 16 points clear of the playoffs. So Burnley are definitely going up. Sheffield United, barring something crazy happening, and I can't see it happening for either of them, Burnley and Sheffield United are definitely automatically getting promoted to the Premier League. Who's going to win the title out of the two of them? Obviously, looking at the table now, you'd think Burnley are going to win. Burnley struggled a bit. They laboured a bit in their game yesterday at home to Coventry. They did end up winning 1-0 thanks to a goal from Bayer on the 82nd minute, so they left it a bit late in the day. And Sheffield United had a good win at home to Stoke. Goals from Ndiaye and 2 from Bogle. They beat Stoke 3-1. So those two teams, we're looking at another, 19 games to go till the end of the season for those two teams. They're going to be going up into the Premier League. In the playoff places, Watford won 2-0 at home, and they struggled a bit, to be fair, up until the last sort of 20 minutes of the game. They won 2-0 at home to Blackpool. Goals from Adam Mayo and a penalty from Sarr. That gave them a 2-0 win. That keeps Watford in third. Middlesbrough are on an absolute flyer since Michael Carrick took over from having been on the Manchester United backroom staff last season. He's performed miracles for Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough up there thanks to a 1-0 win at home to Millwall. Also, other great managers that are doing fantastic this season after the team's not starting well. Carlos Corberán is doing a fantastic job at West Bromwich Albion. They were 2-0 down yesterday after 10 minutes away at Luton, and they came back and won 3-2 thanks to goals from Dyke, Malumbi, and Connor Townsend. So that is now 9 wins in the last 10 games for West Brom. They're absolutely killing it. And they are now in the final playoff place, basically lying in 6th in the table. So, yeah, so hats off to Carlos Corberán and definitely to Michael Carrick, whose teams are in 6th and 4th, respectively, now in the Championship table, looking like they're going to be challenging for promotion, obviously via the playoffs. But going through the other scores of the day, Bristol City had an absolute cracking game at home to Birmingham City. They won 4-2. Cardiff City were winning 1-0 with 8 minutes to go, and then a goal in the 96th minute from Will Keane made it 1-1 against Wigan. Hull came back in the 90th minute as well after being 1-0 down at home to Huddersfield, and they drew 1-1. Preston North End got absolutely smashed by Norwich City. David Wagner, the guy that was in charge of getting Huddersfield into the Premier League a few years back, he's now in charge of Norwich City after they sacked Dean Smith, who was obviously the former Aston Villa manager. They won 4-0. 2 goals from Pukki and 2 goals from Dozzell gave them a 4-0 win there. And that keeps Norwich just outside the playoffs, but they're only 2 points outside. So they're not had a great season by their standards so far, because they're normally up there challenging for automatic promotion. But you've got to say Burnley and Sheffield United are really, really strong teams this season, and that's what's made it so difficult for Norwich. Reading, they drew 2-2 with QPR. They were in control. 2 goals from Jeff Hendrick, but 2 goals from Tyler Roberts on loan from Leeds United for QPR. That gone back to 2-2. West Brom in the lunchtime kickoff on the Saturday absolutely smashed Blackburn, which they needed, and that took them away from the relegation zone into the Championship. They won 4-0. Sunderland got smashed by Swansea, but they got smashed by them last season. They lost 3-1 to Swansea at home, and as I said earlier, Watford beat Blackpool 2-0. But looking at the bottom of the Championship table, it's Huddersfield, Blackpool and Wigan that are in the bottom 3. Top scorer in the Championship is Chuba Akpom for Middlesbrough, and just behind him is Estupin and for Hull City, and Gyökeres for Coventry City. So that's what's going on in the Championship. As I said, Burnley and Sheffield United are absolutely miles ahead of everybody else, so they're going to be going into the Premier League next year. And then it's take your pick out of all, probably about 10 teams below that, to be fair. Anyway, going into League One, Accrington Stanley beat Bristol Rovers 2-0. Bolton won 3-0 against Portsmouth. Shrewsbury Town won 4-0 away at Burton Albion. Charlton won 2-0 at home to Barnsley. Cheltenham lost 3-2 at home to Derby County. Exeter drew 1-1 with Forest Green Rovers. Fleetwood Town lost 2-1 at home to Oxford. Ipswich Town drew 1-1 with Plymouth. And that was a battle of the top 3 teams. Obviously, Plymouth are still top after that. Ipswich Town are lying in 3rd. Sheffield Wednesday leapfrogged Ipswich Town by winning 1-0 away at Wycombe Wanderers. So yeah, that's what's going on at the top end of the League One table. If you're looking at the League One table, it's still Plymouth at the top. They're on 58 points. 3 points behind them now is Sheffield Wednesday in 2nd. And then in the playoffs, you've got Ipswich Town, Derby, Bolton and Barnsley. And then if you go down towards the relegation zone, oh yeah, MK Dons drew 0-0 with Lincoln City as well in one of the games. Cambridge game was postponed against Morecambe because of the due to safety reasons. I'm guessing that was just to do with the weather, obviously in general. So in the relegation zone, Cambridge still sit there. MK Dons are still in the bottom 4 as well. And then you've got Burton Albion and Forest Green are at the bottom of the League One table. So that's what's going on there. Top goal scorer is still Jonathan Clark-Harris, alongside Collins, Aaron Collins, who plays for Bristol Rovers, and obviously Clark-Harris plays for Peterborough. So that's what's going on in League One. Going into League Two, AFC Wimbledon drew 0-0 with Bradford. Leyton Orient are still top, even though they only drew 0-0 with Barrow. They're still 5 points clear of second place Stevenage. Stevenage, they played yesterday, I believe. I'm just having a look. Oh yeah, Stevenage is still in second. They drew 1-1 away at Harrogate. Northampton Town, they were playing as well, and they lost 2-0 away at Stockport County. But Stevenage and Northampton are still in the promotion places. Carlisle won 2-0 at home to Newport County, which keeps Carlisle in fourth. Crawley Town and Doncaster was postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. Gillingham won 2-0 against Hartlepool. Gillingham have got new owners now, so they've won 2-0 against Hartlepool. As I said, Mansfield drew 1-1 with Crewe. Colchester pulled further away from the relegation zone. Doesn't look like they're going to be in a relegation fight now. They won 2-1 away at Rochdale. Salford beat Sutton United 2-0. And then Swindon Town absolutely smashed Grimsby Town 5-0, which made me a bit happy to see. And then Tranmere drew 1-1 with Walsall. So that's what's going on. As I say, Leyton Orient is still top. 5 points clear of Stevenage in second. Northampton are in third in the League Two table. And then in the playoffs, you've got Carlisle, Salford City, Swindon Town and Bradford City. And then down in the relegation zone, even though Gillingham won the battle of the bottom two, Hartlepool are still ahead of them, of Gillingham. But Gillingham only like 3 points from getting out of there. So, well, I'd say 2 more wins. But looking at the top of the table, Hoskins is still the top goal scorer at Northampton Town with 16 goals. So that's what's going on at League Two level. That's my review of all the weekend's action. Thanks to everyone that likes and subscribes to the channel. Really appreciate your support. And all those that don't get on it, start liking and subscribing. Get your friends and family involved. And I'll continue to bring you football content every week. Have a great week. Whoever your team is, I'm going to be doing another episode tomorrow. That's just going to be covering, well, I might do it later on actually. That's just going to be covering the fixtures ahead and my predictions for all the games for the week or so ahead. So you can check that out as well. Have a good weekend. Bye for now.